Good evening, and thank you all for being here for our City Council meeting, 4 p.m. The time is approximately 4 p.m., October the 24th, 2022. We would like to again thank everyone for being here and those that are watching by way of virtual technology. This meeting is now called to order, and at this time we'd like everyone to please stand. And as we stand, we'll also like to have a moment of silence for one of our fallen chaplains, Officer Chris Jordan. Thank you. You may be seated. At this time, I'd like to ask our city clerk if she could call the roll, please.
Councilmember Knight.
Here.
Blackwell.
Here.
Joyner.
Here.
T.J. Walker.
Here.
Doddridge.
Here.
Harris. Javaris Walker.
Here.
Thank you. At this time, we'll have the consideration of our minutes. There's a motion by Councilman Joyner. There's a second.
Second.
Second made by Councilman Blackwell, Councilman Javaris Walker. Any discussion, any questions? All in favor, aye. All opposed, same sign. Hearing none, item number 4 is passed. Are there any additions or deletions needed to be added to this agenda?
I have two things to add, Mr. Mayor. One of them is a budget ordinance that would put the money in place for the award of the resurfacing contract. The resurfacing contract is on your agenda, I think item 15D, and you've got a copy of the budget amendment that's in front of you. It's not in your agenda material, but in front of you on your desk. And the other item is a report from the city attorney on a workers' compensation claim that he would make at some point during the agenda.
All right, so let's add the budget amendment to 16A and workers' comp 16B. Is there a motion to add the consideration of these additions? Motion made by Councilman Joyner, second by Councilman Knight. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Any discussion? Hearing none, item 5 additions have passed. At this time, we'll take petitions to be received from the public. As each meeting, the public has a moment to fill out the citizen sign-in sheet and provide the security officer their time to speak. Remember that your presentation is limited to 3 minutes and time will be monitored. All comments should be directed to the council as a whole and not to individual council members or city staff. This is your opportunity to raise a question or present a request to the council. However, in most cases, council members will not respond to public comments, but may refer a matter to the interim city manager or staff or follow up. We ask that you speak from the podium in a civil, non-argumentative, and respectful manner. At this time, I would like to ask Attorney Susan Perry Cole if she will come up at this time.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem and members of the City Council. My name is Susan Perry Cole. I live at 251 Rose Street in the city. With all due respect to each of you elected officials, I am speaking this afternoon to voice opposition on behalf of some Rocky Mount taxpayers to the city's possible investment in the replacement of the Judicial Center building at an estimated cost of $20 million to be borne by the city. The Judicial Center replacement option was discussed publicly during the April 2022 Rocky Mount City Council retreat. Since the discussion at the April retreat, dialogue has continued among some city taxpayers who've expressed opposition to Rocky Mount incurring a debt obligation to finance the costs of replacing the Judicial Center. Today, I will briefly highlight 3 arguments that support Rocky Mount taxpayers' opposition to city financing of Judicial Center replacement. According to the latest Bloomberg economics forecast model released just last week, the statistical projection showed a 100% probability of a U.S. recession within the next 12 months as the U.S. economy contends with decades-high inflation, Federal Reserve interest rate hikes, and mounting geopolitical tensions. The deteriorating U.S. economic outlook is a major reason for lack of support for city financing of the Judicial Center replacement. Pursuit of such a strategy would likely be accompanied by the city's incurring a large municipal debt and a related property tax increase to finance debt service costs, perhaps amounting to as much as 4 to 5 cents on top of the city's current property tax rate. The likelihood of a recession, fueled by persistent inflationary pressures, is driving up high gasoline and energy prices, along with food and housing costs. This causes ordinary working families and those on fixed incomes in our city to struggle to make ends meet. Likewise, inflation erodes the government's buying power and leads to higher costs for government's debts. Within the context of a projected economic downturn, Rocky Mount should not continue to pursue a multi-million-dollar investment strategy that can produce lasting financial harm to the city and its residents. My second point relates to the importance of transparency and accountability in good government, democratic government. Surprisingly, given the scale of possible city financing of the Judicial Center replacement, the open sharing of information with city taxpayers about what Rocky Mount is doing to advance this project and the offering of adequate opportunities for public engagement concerning the project have been extremely limited. Finally, for existing priorities like increasing the supply of safe and efficient affordable housing, a rush to approve city financing of the Judicial Center replacement option, coupled with rising inflation, can diminish the benefit of recent budget increases earmarked for affordable housing.
Thank you, Attorney Cole.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to make these comments.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. At this time, we'll have Ms. Mari Menges.
Sorry, I didn't know there were so few people want to speak. First of all, because it's been a while since I was up here, I would just like to thank the Telegram for putting Sam Battle picture and his "we're sorry that he died" thing on the front page. I know he is smiling up in heaven. Also, I would like to, wait a minute, am I fussing about that or what? Oh, is it really true that the city has some trucks from people that are actually working in the city to help pick up the trash? Because if that's true, they're missing North Wesleyan Boulevard. But if it's so, terrific for them. Also, you know, of course, I just hate this litter stuff. And I'd like to congratulate whoever the people are that had that wood building place is on North Church Street, sort of near the Unitarian Church. Unitarian Church, as you're coming from my house, is on the right, and this building that caught on fire a couple of years ago, I mean, it looked horrible. You know, you can't even see it now. Somebody cleaned up that place, and it didn't take them 100 years. Obviously, they don't have anybody that is a friend on the council, because my next fussy point is that that building that used to be Ebony and Ivory, because there's some people on the council that knows the people that own it. Why can't that thing get cleaned up? People come 95, if they come in North Church, they look at that dump, and it's a dump. And it also still has the mattresses. Now, why? That's been nasty for a long time because I've been up here fussing about that for at least 3 years. Why can't that get cleaned up? Thank you very much. And clean up your front yards. Stupid people litter, so don't be stupid. Those are my signs in my yard. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes all of our public comment for today's meeting. Thank you so much. And again, we always encourage the public to take advantage of the public comment section as we all are taking notes. And if there's anything you need further, I'm sure that there can be a meeting provided for you or any others in the near future. So again, thank you, thank you, thank you, and we highly encourage you all to continue to participate. Thank you. At this time, we're going to have a community update from our interim city manager, Peter Varney.
2 or 3 things, Mr. Mayor. On solid waste, this is the first time, this past week was the first time in many weeks that we were able to collect garbage, recyclables, and containerized yard waste on the days that we're supposed to have collected them. In other words, a lot of times we've experienced delays on Thursdays where we have to, on Fridays, have to go back and pick up some of the waste that remains on Thursdays. But this is the first week we have not had to do that. We've made great progress in bulky item waste collection. There's still a whole lot more out there to do, so we need to continue to work on that. Loose leaf collection begins on November the 1st, which is next week. We divide the city into 2 parts, a northern half and a southern half. The dividing line basically is the Nash County Railroad on the west side of the city, extending through Western Avenue and then on to Hill Street on the east side of the city. We will begin the loose leaf collection on the northern half first, the week of November 1st, and then the southern half the following week, and then alternate weeks as we go along. We ask people to rake their leaves and pine straw out to the curb or out to the edge of pavement if you live on a strip paved street, and try to keep limbs and cans and bottles and other trash out of the leaves so that those items won't damage the vacuum trucks, vacuum equipment that picks up these things. We do have a new piece of equipment that should help us, but we are short-handed in the streets division, and so I'm hoping we'll be able to keep the schedule on that collection. Next, let's see, on November the 12th on Saturday between the hours of 10 and 2 o'clock in the afternoon at Golden East Mall, there is the annual Recycle Household Waste event. That's held on the Jeffries Road side of the Golden East Mall. So if you have electronics, paper documents, unwanted or dated prescription medicines, paints, stains, pesticides, cleaning chemicals, or batteries, that's the time and place to bring those things for recycling. Also, Habitat for Humanity will be out there to collect any usable household items, furniture, for example, or toys or other household items. The annual Spooktacular Oktoberfest event is planned for Saturday, October 29th. It's coming Saturday, 2 to 5 at the Event Center. They have a bouncy house, face painting, a Nerf war zone there, basketball, volleyball, cornhole, and Sparky, the dog in the fire department, will be there along with the fire truck. So get your Halloween costume out and come on out for that event. Also, the Unity Cemetery Group is planning a Veterans Day cleanup on November the 11th, which is a Friday, and the following day, Saturday the 12th, from 8 to 12 on those dates. So anybody who wants to volunteer to come and help do that may come and do so. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Varney, for your update. At this time, we're now going to compile our agenda items 8 through items 17. We heard the additions for 16A and 16B. 16B, our Attorney Rose needs to speak to that matter, and so we want to give him time to do so for 16B before we vote as a collective.
I have a question.
There's a question. Councilman Knight.
Before we adopt it, we'll approve it. For the resurfacing of the streets, Is it just resurfacing or this part of the dirt street as well?
It's resurfacing, and some of the streets will experience what we call full-depth reclamation, which is basically a reconstruction of the streets. I've got a list of those streets in front of you. It's a list that looks like this. Yeah, and those that you see on the front page where it says FDR, that stands for full depth.
Okay, I
Reclamation.
need to ask Mr. Brad Carr, he's sitting in the audience, about those streets off of Leggett Road. What's the status on that, please? It's Coral, Aztec, and I forget the other one.
The consultant is currently preparing those designs, be water sewer extension as well as dirt street construction of those streets, and that'll come forward, and there'll be a different bid award for that.
Would that be in this 2022 or 23?
It'll probably be construction in spring, next spring, will probably be construction, that's what we're shooting for.
Okay, next spring.
Yep.
I've been working on this 4 years.
You talking about like April 2023 or April 2024?
April of '23.
20.
Okay. And the reason why I ask is the Leggett Road Neighborhood Association, we've been trying to get those streets paved for a very long time. And I'd like to see that done quickly when you can, please. And also the 700 block of Sycamore Street, I was looking for that. A constituent stated that it had potholes or needed to be surfaced. So if you could take a look at that, I greatly appreciate it. Thank you.
Were there any other questions? At this time, Attorney Rose, could you please provide some feedback for the workers' comp claim, which would be 16B, that was added to our agenda tonight?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor, for the time. This is a report on a workers' compensation claim which was approved by the City Council in closed session back in August, I think. The city employee Dexter Williams was driving a sanitation truck when he was rear-ended on January 4th of this year by a dump truck, caused substantial damage to the sanitation truck and injuries to Mr. Williams' head, back, and left leg. The claim was mediated, and a payment of $55,000 to Mr. Williams was agreed upon, and it was approved by the council in closed session, and the settlement was concluded last month upon the payment of $55,000 to Mr. Williams. Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Attorney Rose. Any questions?
Not concerned there, but
Go right ahead, Councilman Knight.
we had another street resurfacing or dirt street pavement. You said Deer Run? Deer Run. This to you, Mr. Brad.
What's the question?
It's Deer Run off 97. That street has been, I think we resurfaced it, did a lot.
Same one we've been working with for several years.
Excuse me?
Probably the same section street we've been working on for several years. It was a dirt road. We had it repaved, we had it paved, we had potholes completed, but because of heavy equipment continuing to go up and down that highway, or that really is a residential community, but there were, I don't know what's happened, but it continues to have pothole issues. And I think that there was conversation at one time about a total resurface and repaving.
I'll need to check, because I thought we did full up recognition on that, on the last contract, so let me investigate.
Okay, we've been working on it for years. So
Yeah, I thought we rebuilt that on the last contract, so that's,
that's what I thought too.
yeah. I'll check. I'll look into it.
Last I checked, it was still a dirt road.
Yeah. We'll look into it.
Any other questions for Mr. Kerr while he's up? Hearing none, I would ask that we have a motion in order to approve items 8 through 16B at this time for consent agenda. Motion made by Councilman Joyner. Will there be a second? Second by Councilman Jabari Walker. Any questions, discussion? Hearing no questions or discussion in that matter, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Hearing none, that consent agenda passed, item 8 through 16B. At this time, we were going to move into closed session. Do we have a motion to move?
Can I have one question?
Yes, sir. Councilman Knight.
Since we approved it, the allocation for the United Community Ministry, would that help them resolve some of the problems with their budget, financial?
It should help them, yes. Remember, at the last city council meeting, the city council awarded a grant of $30,000, and then these two awards would be in addition to that. So these two awards add up to $83,000. And then we've got a request from them for, I don't remember the amount exactly, it's an additional $50,000 that will be coming at one of the November agendas, waiting on release of funding from HUD in order to, before we can bring that recommendation to you. So that will be an additional award that will be forthcoming to United Community Ministries.
So that'd be almost $170,000.
Close to it, yep.
Thank you.
Any other questions, discussion? Hearing none at this time, again, we'd like to thank the public for coming out tonight to our council meeting. Thank you for your participation and your engagement, and to our staff, continue to work diligently and hard and sacrificing as you do each day. Thank you all for being here as well. At this time, can we have a motion to move into closed session for property acquisition? Motion made by Councilman Joyner. Is there a second?
Second.
Second made by Councilman Knight. We're now into closed session. Thank you.
we've had water intrusion issues with it. And when I had come back in 2018, had come up with a plan to try to relocate that car to the Imperial Center, thinking that over there it could be like a museum piece, and people that come and go through the Imperial Center could see that car as an attraction, whereas it doesn't really get any visitation at the train station as it is now. And the idea there was to put it on a piece of track and put a shed over it to keep the water out of it. And had arranged for NCDOT, the rail division, to cover the cost of building the track and moving the car. And then our share of the deal would be to build the shed. But it wasn't here long enough and to get that done, to get that project funded, and so it didn't get funded. So now the question becomes, what do we do about the car? It needs work. It's had water problems with it. They got it covered up with tarps to keep the water out of it. It's unsightly as it is. There is a rail museum down at the Spencer Shops, and so it may be that we should consider relocating or donating that car to the Spencer Shops. It's going to be expensive for us to, because the deal with DOT has gone away, expensive for us to do anything with it and to maintain it. And I'm afraid that it's a burden. Whoever comes after me that may not be on anybody's radar, but it would really be a burden for anybody to try to address. So we may want to consider disposing of that to the Spencer Shops if they'd be willing to take it.
Where would they put it?
I'm sorry.
I was thinking about it the other day. I saw you had a cover over it. Will you move it closer to the train station?
It could be moved closer to the train station. Wherever it goes, it needs to have a shed roof over it to keep the water out of it. That car it's a wooden car. It's built in 1903 as a wooden car. And then in the 1940s, they added steel cladding to the sides of it. And but what happens is rainwater gets in behind the steel cladding, and then it rots the wood behind it. And so when we got it the first time, we had grants from DOT. We took all the steel cladding off and replaced the rotten wood, and then put the cladding back on. So it was restored back then. But now we've had more water damage since that time.
Because the museum is where the Hall of Fame used to be, correct? Train museum?
The train museum, that's right. The train museum is where the Hall of Fame used to be, that's right. The model railroad people, yeah.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, help me with Spencer Shops. Are you talking about where Councilman Knight's referring to, or are you talking like Spencer, North Carolina?
Spencer, North Carolina.
Okay.
Oh, you can take
There's a rail museum, transportation museum. I think of it as a rail. But
Why
it's,
would it offer to the museum we had here?
the idea I had before was to, put it over at the Imperial Center, make it a part of that museum experience over there.
Like the train museum, this.
Oh, the Model Railroad Museum.
Do they have the money to do that?
Yeah.
They would not have the money to do that. No, not even come close. I think they have 35 members or something like that.
Yeah, I think unless we have a lot of interest from here at the city and then locally to preserve history, it would be a good consideration. I'd want more details on what it would take to move there and how they would retain the history. And it's world renowned, and people go there from all over to see the history of trains. But I've never been there. I'd like to go, but if we're going to go that route, certainly would want to preserve the Rocky Mountain history to make sure it's brought back to Rocky Mountain gets its kudos there.
Right.
This is Rocky Mountain history.
Rocky Mountain history, that rail car? Yeah.
Why would we send it? I know the reason we say we send it there.
Yeah.
If we got a 1909, I think it's car. Then I think we should keep it for our history. We talk about train and all that. I mean, it's just me, cause I like
Yeah,
history, but.
well, we're birds of a feather on that one. It's a hard thing. It's just that it costs a lot of money is the concern I have. But that car, worked in and out of Rocky Mount for years and years and years. It was an office car here. In the old days, you could see it parked in the, areas where it would have been parked right outside the train station.
I don't see where it couldn't be, somewhere closer to the actual, train station, so people waiting, they could go in and.
Yeah, what we'd have to do is extend the trackage, which could be done, to bring it up closer to this train station itself. And then we really need to put a shed roof over it, which could be done.
Was Citisex have any interest in that?
No,
I mean, helping us in doing that. Helping us in doing?
I don't think so. We have all we can do to get them to move on that loading dock down there.
So what you think the cost? I'm not, I just don't understand why we would move it to
Yeah,
somewhere that close to the train station.
yeah.
Just put a shelter or something over it.
Yeah, well, it could be done, but it would cost some money. Let's see, I think the estimate we had on the shed roof before, this is like 4 years ago, was something close to $200,000 for the shed, and then the move was, I don't know, like $75,000, and then the track was another $100,000. So we're talking a chunk of change to do that.
I personally think it's worthy just exploring your idea further and coming back to us.
Yeah.
In both, including Councilman
Yeah,
Knight's
okay.
as well.
We can do that.
So we could get it back? No, it's not.
It's not gone.
I mean, it's here, but I'm saying if we put some money in,
Put some money.
I think that's what, I guess you're asking, what's the will of the council to move on a historic property? Do
Right.
we have the will to,
allocate another several $100,000 and then create some sustaining operational support? Because if we're gonna do a museum, museums have to be staffed, upgraded, or, if you want people to walk through there, it needs to be dynamic, that's all I can say.
Yeah.
And so does that mean adding on to something that already is here? Does that mean having a collaborative, maybe the docents or something, of people that can come from the railroad society, whoever they're called, and that, but it's something to think about, I mean, I agree, it's a great asset. But then we have to think about renovation, restoration, okay. Renovation, restoration.
You had renovated.
And then some type of, assertive plan for management, so. That gives downtown office another something to.
Yeah, something else to see.
Something else to see.
We wouldn't have to manage it if you got a train museum. They just put the hours that they would.
the stuff still has to be upgraded. People might have all kind of stuff around, just like you're saying. They might have memorabilia, they might connect themselves to railroad museums around the country, have traveling, what do you call, exhibitions or whatever. It just depends on what you want to do. Is it passive, or do we want to do something a little more aggressive?
Yeah.
Maybe explore it. See what we can do. Both, look at both.
Yeah, at one time, was this the same train maybe back in 2006 or 7 when they opened up the Nash County line and went up and down all the way towards Wood Green? Was that the same?
That's the same car. We had that, when we renovated that car, we renovated it so that it would be certified for the short line railroad. It's not certified to run up the A line, but was certified to run on the short line, which is the Nash County Railroad. And we did that one time.
Well, that was great. I experienced that. It was awesome. And
Yeah.
it would be great if we had someone that wanted to do a dinner on weekends, go up and down the tracks. That would be awesome.
Over in Nashville. Yeah. Okay. Thanks. I think I have a feeling that we want to not get rid of it, not be in a hurry to get rid of it. So, okay. Thank you all.
Thank you, Peter.
Thank you. Hearing no other business.
We met with, Edgemont, and, people talk about flooding a lot. Flooding? Yeah, rain situation. Okay.
I took a pretty good tour on Friday of Edgemont and Hillsdale and parts across town, so I don't know how many pages and stuff I gotta do.
You got those phone numbers, right?
I got the phone number.
You got the detailed version. All right.
I'm good. I think I'm good.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Any other questions, discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, oh no, we don't have to do that. This meeting is adjourned.